Hi, Kyle.
Hi, Nick.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay.
Are
Feeling
you
relaxed.
are you ready to feel? I was gonna say, nostalgic a bit, maybe even a little melancholic. 'Cause
Always. That's my default jam.
Me too.
Nostalgic
Clinically.
melancholy. Yeah.
But here's the thing. Hey, everyone who's listening. This is our little side show, which we like to call the Balls Deep series. And what we normally do, what we're still gonna kind of do today, is this is where we get the opportunity to to have a podcast where we don't talk about the show we really don't like and just have to get to the things we do enjoy as a little treat at the end. And instead, they're supposed to be all treat, all filler, no killer of our souls. But today, like I said, I'm feeling just like a little, I can't say sad. I think just nostalgic has to be the word. Because we are coming pretty close to the end of this journey. We're halfway through season 10. And so when I say close, we do still have 2.5 years at this rate. But, Kyle, I don't know how often you get the question of like, oh, hey, when you guys are done, are you going to move on to Young Sheldon? Or then much more recently, oh, that Stewart show, you guys have to do that one, right? Is that
No, I never get that question because I do not tell people in real life that I have a podcast about the Big Bang Theory. Because, and the couple of times I have watched their, respect for me. Like, I could see it falling in real time at a rate that was sort of amazing to see.
Yeah, so I do get the question, but I also get a similar reaction was like, isn't that show kind of dumb and not good? And I always enthusiastically say yes. And that's I don't pretend to like it. I can't say that we do it because we enjoy it. We're just fools. We're idiots. And so we just keep at it for the power of friendship. Which brings me to today's episode, which is, let's say that both of us are alive in 2.5 years and we've completed this project. And we don't want to move on to Young Sheldon. And maybe that's a talk we'll have when it comes up, but I'm telling you right now, God, I can't imagine that's good Christ, no, to get through this and to feel like at the end we've maybe accomplished something and then to punish ourselves even more. No.
No, if anything, I think we will have earned the right to never have to look into anything we don't want to look into for the rest of our lives.
Yes, this is, we didn't have to self-flagellate for this long. But, then in the future, when anyone is like, having a bit of a lazy day, huh? You can say, look at the wounds on my back. And then they'll say, you did that to yourself. No one made you do that. And it's like, but I still experienced it. It still was pain that was real. Let me have this day. And so in that spirit, I was thinking, what if we had the ability to choose whatever we wanted to do after this show? We wanted to pick another thing to focus on. Because we do have that ability. We could stop this at any time we like as well. We just have a ridiculous punishing commitment. And so I thought, though, if we were to do like another show, or even more specifically, another sitcom, like what would that be? And so what I've done is I've prepared what is essentially a little survey here. And I started with 2 different lists. One was the Rolling Stone Top 100 Sitcoms of All Time, which I find dubious, but it was still one source. And then the other was the Top 10 IMDb list of sitcoms. I mean, Top 100 or whatever. And so I took the top 10 from each of these, and where there was overlap, I included those in today's survey. And there were 5 shows from each list that overlapped, so that was pretty convenient.
Okay, can I make some guesses?
I mean, you can. I'm about to tell you, but guess away.
Okay. So The Simpsons is obviously on there.
Yes.
Friends?
Only on one list.
Interesting. Okay, so one of these lists is going hardcore and maybe a little bit older. Golden Girls?
Not in the top 10 on either.
Oh, wow. Okay. So in that case, How I Met Your Mother?
One of the lists.
Okay. All right. Well, then yeah, you might as well tell, because if The Simpsons is the only overlap in the top 10, of both of these that I could think of off the top of my head. Wait. Frasier?
One of the lists.
Cheers.
Both. Yes, that's a crossover.
Okay, so now you can tell me.
Okay, so yeah, there was 10 from each, and the 5 where they overlapped are All in the Family.
Actually, yeah.
The Simpsons. Okay. Cheers. MASH.
I forgot about that. MASH was going to be one of my guesses, but I forgot.
And the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Oh!
So, fairly ancient, but it's on there. And then what I did, which I was going to say if we have time, but I'm bringing it up, we're going to make time to do it, is I took an additional one from each list that I personally thought might be interesting to check out. And so that's my little thumb on the scale here. And so I included Frasier, and then the other wild card I chose was The Larry Sanders Show. And so we now have 7 different shows here. And through my incredibly detailed mathematical formula that I've put into the spreadsheet, we are going to...
That's the sound your brain makes when it's computing.
That's the sound it makes all the time, and it's called ADHD. But we're going to go through each of these, and there's 2 things we're going to grade each of these on for each of us. So that's 4 different columns
ratings
for points. Yes. And the 4 are Kyle's enjoyment of the material, and then Kyle's willingness to participate in the material. And then same on my end, enjoyment and willingness. Okay. And enjoyment is a clean score, 1 to 10. Willingness, we're still going to grade 1 to 10, but it factors in the total number of episodes. So the more episodes that are in it, the more difficult it is to get that willingness score up. Same time,
of course,
the lower it is, the easier to get through. And so this is obviously a perfect system I've developed. And, why not just get into it?
You didn't give us a scale, 1 to 4 or 1 to 10 or?
We're going 1 to 10. And then, and then the final score here, it's not going to be 1 to 10 base. It's just going to be the highest of any of them. That is the commitment score. And that is where the mathematical formula comes in of enjoyment plus enjoyment over divided by 2 plus willingness over the total number of episodes. And I've also translated these into years. The years is not a direct number. It's just a reminder of our own mortality.
As someone who's played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons in my time, none of those derived stats actually seem that hard to follow. So let's do this.
Oh, yeah. No, if anything, if I were being as obnoxious to myself as I usually am, I'd want to make it more complicated. But this, I think it's going to work. And so, let's get in. Number 1 on this list is All in the Family. Well, Kyle, have you seen much of this? Do you have any immediate feelings about it?
I actually, when I was a kid, that was a perennial on Nick at Night, and they're old. I don't remember what the other channel was that only showed old sitcoms, but I watched a fair amount of All in the Family, to the point where I actually do have warm feelings about that show, even though, boy, do I wonder about all of the racism. Because basically the 2 things that I remember on that show were the writing was quite clever and charming and fun, and oh man, the main character was an unapologetic, irascible racist, and that was part of the joke.
Yes.
In fact, I'll even tell you, there's a line that is burned into my brain where Sammy Davis Jr. comes over and he's talking to not George Jefferson, but George Jefferson's son. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "You hang out with this guy?" And he's like, "I mean, he wouldn't throw a Klan rally." And who's the guy I just said? The famous singer.
Archie Bunker? No, you did just say, and I'm already forgetting.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Yes.
Sammy Davis Jr. is like, well, yeah, he wouldn't throw one, but he might show up and barbecue some hot dogs if one was going on. And I always think about that.
Well, and so this is when I try to tell people what it was like growing up in Butte, Montana, and because I had some jokes for my stand-up about, hey, white people, it's really cool to all say we're not racist, but you got to do some work to get into it, because as someone who grew up in Butte, there's a lot of cultural unlearning I had to do. And I think All in the Family probably has the same racism as Butte had, which is that weird kind of like 70s labor racism where it's like we're all working together, we all get together, we get along just fine. And that's why I'm going to really just belittle the shit out of you in a way that seems friendly.
I've dealt with this it's like particular, like I have some friends, not anymore. I guess what I should say is I knew some people who were in the army together, and this was like, we were all in the army together, all of our different colors, and the fact that we were all in the army together gives us the right to just make the most racially incendiary comments as a bonding opportunity towards each other for the rest of our lives.
Well, this is a factoid. Chevy Chase has tried to defend his own N-word slinging on Community that got him in so much trouble by saying like, oh no, like me and Richard Pryor, like we used to do that all the time. I'd call him bleep, 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 and he'd call me honky and cracker, and we're great. But then, he says that, and then the more I learn, it's like, oh no, Richard Pryor hated you. He openly hated you for doing that shit you're describing. So yeah, it's always someone's having a good time. Okay, so I on my end, I know basically the premise, what you just described. I don't know if I've ever actually seen a single episode, but I'm interested because I want to see how just like straight up accepted it was, the racism because of the time it was on, and how much of it's actually supposed to be like subversive or ironic or anything like that. So let's get into some scoring here. Now, Kyle, and this, we haven't watched it yet, but you've seen some, so this is kind of a hypothetical thing. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think you would enjoy going through all in the Family?
I think I would give that a solid 8. 8?
Okay.
I wanted to go higher, actually, from my memory of the average experience of an episode, but I was younger, and also, we need to leave some room to grow here, so I'll say an 8.
Okay, I'm going to go 1 point higher to a 9 because I am very curious, and I know it's had great spin-offs, such as The Jeffersons. I could lower my score a little because I'm like, oh, what if it's really terrible and I'm offended? I'm actually not too worried about that because I know I've seen much, much worse. So then we move on to the willingness, and this is where I'm going to tell us, how long it would actually take to conclude the series. And then you can factor that into your
important information.
Yeah, into your 1 to 10 willingness score. So All in the Family had a total of 205 episodes, which if we were to maintain the rate of one actual main feed episode every other week, we would complete in approximately 7.88 years. And so that's not bad compared to even what we're doing now. It would be less, but about 8 years total. And so willingness with that number in mind, Kyle, on a 1 to 10.
I mean, considering what I've been through with the Big Bang Theory and how endless, I actually think that it's given me some, it's like you said 7 years, I was like, a drop in the bucket of time. I would give that a solid 9.
9. Okay, our scoring is so lame right now because we have the same things but inverted, because I'm going 8 on that one, just because that's not a small number. I'd love smaller, but...
Well, you're older than me, so each year matters more to you.
I have so much less time. And, that's it. Why belabor that point? Okay. And so I'm not going to reveal the commitment scores until the end. But so we have an 8 and a 9 for enjoyment and an 8 and a 9 for willingness. So that's All in the Family is off to a really great start here. Now, next on this list is The Simpsons, which is still running and... so far has a total... Well, no, we're going to save that for willingness. Let's go pure enjoyment first. And so, we don't even really have to describe either of us, I think, our familiarity with The Simpsons, because it's impossible to not be familiar with it, and I'm sure...
Yes, although I will say, this is a crazy fact about me, I've probably seen fewer episodes of The Simpsons than I have of All in the Family.
That is interesting. Because
I've also seen more episodes of Futurama and a bunch of other shows. It's just that for some reason, The Simpsons I never latched on to.
Kyle, I didn't expect that at all. That blows my mind. Because for me,
I know, it usually does.
I was 7-ish, I think, when Simpsons first premiered. And even then, it was on Fox, which was the new cable channel that wasn't like just common with whatever like local access packages or whatever there were. But I've also been someone who I did start watching it regularly, and have also been friends of people who would throw it on, one of the DVD collections. And so there's those first like 11 seasons are all just rummaging around in my head. And so Kyle, and that's what we have seen. Let's not forget that it's still running, and Elon Musk was a guest once, and I just can't sanction that no matter how much. That's that for me poisons the entire series. But Simpsons, as how much you think you would actually enjoy going through The Simpsons and breaking it down? 1 to 10 there.
Oh, that I think is a solid. Like, I think the obstacle here is not going to be enjoyment. I think that's a solid 10. I mean, even in the later seasons where I know it apparently people argue, but everyone feels at a certain point there's a drop off in quality. Just analyzing the drop off in quality would be so fascinating on its own that I think who would enjoy that. Like, if it starts off really good and the rest of the experience is just remembering when it used to be good, just on a purely intellectual level, I find that really interesting.
All right. Well, now, see, this is where we do start to differ, because for me, what is generally recognized as the best stuff every single day takes up a smaller percentage of the total episodes. It's so where you're thinking it would be interesting.
But to me, I'm just pushing that to the next one, because to me that's really a question of, how much time would I be willing to commit to it?
Oh, well, that's going to be factored in too. But for me, I really dread having to go through a lot of garbage, and that's prejudgment. It'd be lovely to be proved wrong, but I got to give this one a 5. Like, I love The Simpsons, but I'm scared.
That's how much you really don't like the new stuff. And that's part of it. I'll admit, I don't have as much experience with the new stuff versus the old stuff, so I don't feel it as much.
And again, based on speculation, if we were to do it and I'm wrong, that'd be great, but that's the enjoyment I would have. Well, no, I'm going to bump that up to a 6, because the original stuff I do know I love, and so maybe it's going to wash it out. Okay, and now we get to willingness. As of today,
we'd be dead. We won't. We will. There's no way we outlive The Simpsons.
Don't be so pessimistic. There's a good chance I would survive, and I think you've got an even better chance. A total of 805 episodes, currently clocking, and again, at the rate we go, we could always do more, but at our current rate, 30.96 years, 31 years. That's the catch up. Did you factor into your math that they keep making new episodes, so there would be at least 30 more seasons in between then and now? So that's at least another 30 years. My chart has not factored in Zeno's paradox. The fact that no matter how close we get to catching up, that it will have outpaced us by the time we get there. I didn't plug the numbers in, but I do think that factors into the willingness score.
That's it's like it takes us a year on average to watch a season, and it's an on-running show that has never showed any signs of ever being canceled, which means there will be as many seasons left when we get to where we are now as there were when we started.
It has to stop at some point, right? We just don't know when.
I don't think. Did you ever see? I didn't watch the episode, but there's a famous couch gag scene that made the rounds by Don Hertzfeld, where he imagines what The Simpsons would look like in the year 3422, and that it doesn't feel crazy to me.
I'm surprised that they would let Don Hertzfeld do that, because I love.
Oh, you should watch it. It's great. I mean, it's only 2 minutes long, so it's easy to watch, but It's a great little couch gag that's on YouTube.
Yeah, I love him, but he's mean. I mean, not even grr mean, just kind of
No, it's pretty dark. It's pretty dark. I mean, the joke, well, you'll get it when you watch it. Anyway.
Okay. And so willingness to do this.
So that's basically you're asking, do I want to spend the rest of my life talking about The Simpsons? And so then it's then I'll give it's possible. It's not like a 0 or a 1, but I'm going to give it a 2 to balance out the 10 on the other side.
Well, and I'm not trying to sweeten the pot here, but have you factored in the possibility that at some point during this adventure we'll come across the kind of technology that's going to really extend our longevity?
Mm-hmm.
and that we'd have that much more time alive to watch this. No,
I started to say, does that make it better, or aren't we just like the Highlanders at that point, like looking?
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little higher than you and go to 4, just because like what the fuck else am I gonna do with my life? If it's gonna be a Simpsons every other week, that's a commitment that just is meaningless as anything else. But
I mean, there must be a podcast where we would not be the first Simpsons podcast, so there must be an episode by episode recap podcast of the Simpsons. But that does make me wonder how they do it, because even if they did one a day, like that, if they recorded every single day a new episode, that would still be an exhausting amount of work.
Yeah, well, that's where I think the same reason that anyone pays attention to our show and the same reason that people hate it is because we don't like the show, and so we're critical of it. I think these other Simpsons podcasts, and they're probably exceptions, but I think they are like the produced just shill who, goes through positively, and I feel like we would not be capable of that, and that's what we would bring. But yes, we would be amidst a whole bunch of other podcasts to compete with. Okay, so that score is locked in for now. Next on the list, Cheers. And for me, this is part of the reason I think I even did this is I've watched so few sitcoms. It's just really not my thing. This show that we're doing now is kind of like my real big commitment to something that was already outside of my comfort zone. But Cheers seems very well beloved. And I know that it has a lot of character actors that I like. And I think the premise is straightforward enough. I'd like that they really have to work within that bar space. And so I'm feeling pretty positive about it. How about you? What's your familiarity or feeling?
So I've never seen an episode of Cheers. To me, Cheers is the show that spun off, that's mostly interesting because it spun off Frasier.
Yes.
And I know that some people probably like Cheers more than Frasier, but it's just I'll just tell you, I'm going to give it a 4. There's nothing. I'm sure it's a well-written show for its time. I even like all of the dudes in it. Like the guy who plays Sam is, I've loved him in other things. But it's just, for what I'm sure is a very well-written sitcom of its time period, I just can't imagine there's anything that it's doing that's that in its ultimate, it's just a show set in a bar. I can't imagine the jokes from week to week are that novel. I
think that's good hypothesizing there. I think you're probably right. I'm going to 7 though, because I'm ready to tuck in with whatever America was feeling cozy with in those was it mostly entirely the 80s, early 90s?
I think I guess the 80s.
I also like it's got Kirstie Alley in it when she was at her peak and before it was revealed that she's apparently a terrible person. And so that'll be nice.
Isn't she dead now? She's been dead for a while, I thought.
Well, but she's still in the show.
Yes, that's true.
They didn't remove her because...
Also, the lady, I will say that the lady who plays Diane, I know nothing really about the character she plays. Shelley Long, is that her name?
I'm going to say yes, just because I recognize that name.
Yeah, I know nothing about, but I did watch a bunch of Modern Family, by which I mean I watched all of Modern Family, and she had a recurring guest role on that, and she was so fucking funny that I was like, if this was the kind of her, if she was this funny in her prime, it must have been hysterical.
All right. Well, I mean, if you want to bump your stuff.
Still a 4. It's still a bar. I think it's a comedy about people in a blue collar bar in, what is it, Boston?
I think maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boston sounds right.
I'm subtracting points just for Boston.
Whoa. All right. You're down to 3. I'm going to stay at my 7.
No, that was baked into the 4. It would have been a 5.
Oh, okay. All right. That was tricksy there, Kyle. So let's move on to our willingness score then. So for Cheers, it clocked in at a total of 275 episodes, which would take us 10.58 years to complete, 10 and a half. And so based on that, how willing would you be to commit to a little over 10 years of Cheers?
Also a 4. solid fours across the board for Cheers. I realize I might be being a little disrespectful to what I'm sure is some people out there's favorite sitcom.
Kirstie Alley's in the ground, buddy. Don't worry about it. Let's dance on that grave. Be disrespectful to a sitcom. Fuck them. You know, four it is. That's where I'm gonna stay at a 7 on this one. I'm really curious about what America loved so much for so long. So, all right, that one's locked in. Next is MASH. Kyle, what's your familiarity or immediate feelings about MASH?
And this is the one I know I know that it was at least at one point the longest running sitcom in the world, which means it must have been pretty good for its day. I know it stars Alan Alda as a guy named Hawkeye, which
yes.
I was always, I know Alan Alda, and I was always confused why he was named after the character from Marvel. But that, to be honest, his character probably came first, so that's really on the Archer. And then I know that this is the most inexplicable part to me. It is apparently still considered a sitcom, despite the fact that it is set in the middle of the Korean War, which that is the part of all of it that is the weirdest to me. So that immediately bumps my interest level up, because it's like, how do you do it's just so hard that was, I guess, the last time that war was considered funny enough that we could do like a sitcom about an active battlefield situation.
Oh, so that's my understanding, was that it's set as a comedy, as like why can't I think of like a gallows humor kind of thing? Like, we're getting limbs blown off and people are dying, but you gotta laugh. You gotta smile.
Yeah. And so I won't lie, that vibe interests me. So I would give that like a solid 8 in just like my interest in seeing, what the vibe of that kind of show is over time. The one trivia fact that I know is that the show MASH lasted longer than the Korean War lasted.
Yeah.
Which is a funny fact.
That teaches you that war is really not so bad. You can finish a war in the time it takes to finish a beloved American sitcom. What's the big deal? This is me being disrespectful. I'm going with a 2. And that's because as a kid, when we still had old-fashioned family TV time, I don't remember what came on before MASH, but when MASH came on, that's when it was time to go do my homework. That's like, the weird, sad army show is on. The show that's a sitcom where I don't understand what the jokes are or why people are laughing or what the enjoyment is. And while I'm certain that as an adult I would much better understand it and probably enjoy it a whole lot more, that's already a part of me. And so I would have to let go of that as we watched it. So just based on gut, I got to go 2 for enjoyment.
Okay.
Now, willingness.
I misunderstood. I thought you meant that your family sent you to your room because MASH
no.
too straight edge for.
No.
They were what would it do to Nick Hyde's impressionable mind?
No, it was MASH would come on and I would peace out because I'd rather be learning algebra than watching whatever the hell was going on in MASH. Or, playing Nintendo. Really doing anything but watching MASH was the goal. Okay, now let's get into our willingness scores. This is about the average length for all these sitcoms. So this one ran for 256 episodes, which comes in at 9.85 years. So a little shorter than Cheers, approximately 10 years. How willing would you be to commit 10 years to MASH?
10 years is a long time, although we've done that for The Big Bang Theory, which...
Yes. We know what pain is.
I'll give it a 6.
Kyle, I plugged in my number before yours. I'm also giving it a 6. I am curious. I am more willing than not willing, but that bias that I already have is too baked in for me to give it any higher. So that's how we feel about MASH. Moving on, this is our last of the crossover success sitcoms, and that is The Dick Van Dyke Show. Now, you already mentioned Nick at Night. that for me was also something I wasn't interested, because that's when like, oh, there's no more cartoon sketch comedy, Clarissa Explains It All, so I'm done with this channel for the night. That said,
if that's true, you missed out on some bangers. Gilligan's Island, Bewitched.
Oh yeah, fuck all that shit. But among those, Dick Van Dyke stood out the most to me as the thing I just felt I would like the most. Like, just based on his charisma, I guess, or I don't know, him tripping over his shoes every time he walked in. So that's, and I also know that everyone loves Dick Van Dyke.
Not only, but you may not know, but Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore. She plays his wife in it. So it's a twofer of two, because, right after that show ended, she went on to have her own incredibly successful sitcom named after her. So the charisma of these two incredibly likable, funny people is just cannot be underestimated.
I didn't know she played his wife. I assumed, well, then she probably was just so much younger than him that, like, because I know about her show and everything that, it's how beloved she is, but I didn't know that was her. All right. Well, so factoring that in, I guess. Also, I caught like half an episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show here in my 3-week hotel journey, and I was like, oh, he was married to a real fox back then. I guess that was Mary Tyler Moore I was into. Okay, so enjoyment you think you would get out of committing to this?
I'm going to give that a solid 9.
Oh, Kyle, we're matching up again. I feel positive about the Dick Van Dyke Show possibility to captivate me. So 9's for enjoyment. Now, it's for willingness to commit. Show from the 60s, maybe into the 70s. A better time for entertainment, I think, as far as production goes, because it comes in at a blissful 158 episodes, which would take us 6.08 years to complete. How'd you feel about watching the Dick Van Dyke Show?
Yeah, 10. Well, straight 10. I mean, I feel like if we went I could be wrong about this, but my hope and suspicion is that if we went straight from finishing The Big Bang Theory into a solid 6-year run of Dick, that would just be like, that would be like the perfect come down. That's like after the rave when you're so high on Molly, you think you're gonna die, and then, they just put you in a soft, fuzzy room and give you a bottle of water until time makes sense again. That would be us watching Dick Van Dyke. I love that idea.
I love we have the frameworks we use for this, because I was like, well, we'll have died in Ragnarok, and Dick Van Dyke will be our Valhalla. That's. We'll finally move on to the land where those who died in battle get to, I guess, continue to battle but have a better time of it. So, yeah. All right. So locked in on Dick Van Dyke.
What was your score?
Oh, sorry, I didn't say. I also give it a 10. I just feel good about that one, man. I don't know, and like the length has something to do with it, but it's like the opposite of MASH, where like I just had a childhood aversion to MASH, and I had an unfulfilled curiosity for the Dick Van Dyke Show. So, okay, now we get to our special contenders.
Then I know I can do math. I know what our winner is. I guess we have more contenders, but
it's yet to be decided. Now, are your instincts right? Absolutely. But let's see what we've got. A couple left here. These are our special contenders because there was much less overlap than I expected on these. I think Rolling Stone did go further back in time. Actually, just like looking at the leftovers here, it absolutely did. And then IMDb, every one of these has been 90s or more recent. So not that it affects these next two shows, that's just the biggest difference. Our next contender is Frasier. Kyle, that was on the IMDb list. It didn't make it onto the Rolling Stone list. How you feel about Frasier?
So Frasier is I have positive but mixed feelings about Frasier. On the one hand, Frasier seems like the kind of show that would be up my alley, in that it's sort of jokey jokes about affluent intellectual people, who are a little bit have their heads up their own asses, and then also but still very funny. And everyone I know who has ever watched Frasier basically describes it as like a perfect sitcom. Like I've never, like I just don't know anyone who doesn't like Frasier. Those people must exist, but like anyone I've ever talked to is like, I'm mostly sitcoms, but Frasier's cool, I guess. So I don't know where that magic comes from. I've seen a couple episodes and I was like, yeah, this is good, but I never got like that sense out of it. But I think my only misgiving is a show from that era about those type of people. I do worry there'd be a lot of jokes that are like, oh, can you believe he served a Merlot with the duck au fin, Niles? Ah, indeed, Frasier. Oh, what a buffoon. And I would be like, I can only take so many of these. But maybe I'm wrong about that.
I mean, possibly. But Kyle, this is me at my most pretentious in this list. I've seen maybe one or two episodes. What you're describing is kind of what I've also experienced and worry about. Because my theory is that all these people who love Frasier are probably kind of dumb and are easily satisfied with run-of-the-mill sitcom covered in pseudo-intellectual paint. And so that's me just, again, cynical dickhead move, but that's what I worry would be the case. But again, what you said is also true. It's like everyone I know loves it. It's a friend that was trying to get me into it that I watched a couple episodes. And I also similarly, I don't have as much apprehension about kind of like the affluent class jokes, but I bet, especially for the time and compared to how we're all living now, it probably pissed me off. So when we get to the actual enjoyment score, how much do you think you would enjoy watching Frasier?
I mean, I'd give it a solid 7. I bet I'd enjoy it.
Okay. Then I would go just 1 point down to a 6, because I actually plugged it in before you said anything, but I'm going up a point to 6, because that's me giving it all the credit I am told it is due. So that's public opinion actually affecting me here. Anyway, it's a willingness. Frasier, again about the median here, 264 episodes would take 10.15 years to complete. How would you feel about committing to 10 years of
that decade line? For some, that's like a sharp demarcation for me. It's like 10 years just feels like maybe because I committed to 10 years without really thinking about it the first time. And boy, do I regret that some days. But now I look at it and I'm like, oh man, I better have something to actually go on. 10 fucking years. No, I guess I would say,
10 years of salad and scrambled eggs, baby.
That brings it down to like a 4 for me.
Okay. Maybe surprisingly, not so much surprisingly. I will go higher than you on this, but not much. I'm going to go up to a 5, because this is where my misgivings cannot be overlooked on a 10-year timeline. So
yeah.
And then the last one that I personally picked comes from the Rolling Stone list that was not on the IMDb list, which is The Larry Sanders Show. Kyle, familiarity with this one?
Almost not. Like, I feel like I know it has some sort of weird meta, like it has a lot of street cred, basically. It's like a cult classic of a sitcom, because apparently it did some things that would eventually be much more common in sitcoms before anybody else did it. And I think it had like some really maverick TV writers on it who went on to create some other crazy good shows. But
it had Jeremy Piven, who I don't know, maybe he's a Benjamin Button because he had so much less hair then than he does now. That doesn't make sense, does it, Kyle? How did Jeremy Piven do that?
I don't know. But I don't know anything about the show itself. All I know is, like, I know it by reputation. I literally don't even know, like, I know it's presumably about a guy named Larry Sanders, but to be honest, I don't even know if Larry Sanders is if it's like, like the Dick Van Dyke Show where Larry Sanders is a real person, or if it's more like, I guess Roseanne was also a real person. If it's more like Frasier, maybe, where it's a guy whose name is like Greg Daniels playing a guy named Larry Sanders.
Well, so I I think I've seen maybe 1 or 2 episodes of this, and I am familiar enough that I can clarify this. But what you're describing is for the longest time where I was at too. I was like, what, Larry Sanders? Is this like a show about a show, or who is he? And then later learning that the main character is played by Gary Shandling. I was like, Larry Sanders is Gary Shandling, or they're friends? But the premise of the show, broadly is, it is meta, because it both presents a late night talk show, like your Letterman's or whatever, and it does the behind the scenes stuff at the same time. And of course it's, snarky, cynical, like this is what it's really like to be on a show. And so with knowing that much about it, how much do you think you might enjoy? Oh, and the other thing I'll say was, I don't know, it's way before the idea of prestige television, but this was HBO. And so it has more license to be dirty or weird or whatever than a network sitcom. And so with all that in mind, Larry Sanders, how would you think you might enjoy this one?
So this is going to be my most brutal rating by far. I'm gonna give this, and let me explain my reasoning. I'm gonna give this a 2, but the reason I'm gonna give this a 2 is not because I don't believe that all the things people say about it are true. It is just that it is often the case when something was inspiring and edgy for its time that you go back and you watch it and you're like, yeah, that's fine. I can think of 6 other shows that did it a billion times better. If I wanted to watch an edgy, like HBO, it's like, the guy might be evil now, but the Louis C.K. show that he did, that would, that it still exists. Actually, I don't know where you would watch it, but it's like, it's still there. It's like meta, incredibly subversive, like R-rated sitcoms. Like maybe when that was new, that was a cool thing, but there are plenty of them. And I would just be surprised if this really stood head and shoulders above like some other ones that I'd already seen and liked more.
I think that makes total sense. I'm going to go way higher because I'm curious, and it makes me think of Curb Your Enthusiasm just in the sense that this is a show that everybody loved, but my whole young adult life, not until actually streaming was available, I never had access to HBO. I just wasn't, we didn't have that with cable, maybe someone would like tape a movie off of it, but all those HBO shows were just basically inaccessible, absent to me other than through commercials. And with Larry David show, with Curb Your Enthusiasm, that's something that I'd see those ads, have no interest in. People would tell me I should watch it, and I'm like, I'm never going to get HBO. Who cares? And then I did watch it, and it was a religious experience. So I feel a lot more optimistic about it, even though at the same time, I think your concerns are very valid, because what you're describing has been my experience going back and watching episodes of Mr. Show with Bob and David, because that is a legendary, highly regarded show that was extremely cutting edge and avant-garde for a comedy show at the time. And then I watch it and I'm like, oh, this is just like the most, looking back, like on the nose, edgy humor you could have. They were the first to do it, but I feel like it does not hold up. So I'm going with an 8. I'm much more optimistic, but I also have, I think your concerns make sense. Now, willingness, I think this one mathematically gets an advantage because it ran for 90 episodes and would take 3.46 years to complete. And so it sounds like you don't think you would enjoy it. How much would you be willing to commit to 3.5 years of the Larry Sanders
3.5 years of torture? At this point, that's nothing. I'll give that a solid, I'll again, to balance everything out, I'll give that a solid 8.
You're going 8. I have so little concern about that. I have even so little concerned about like it aging poorly. I'm going up to 10. So that's my. Well, I guess Dick Van Dyke. We both gave it. Dick Van Dyke such high scores. Okay, so
yeah. Do you know? What's crazy to me? I just realized, and it's fine. Again, these lists can be, but it is even if you don't like it. Even though it is not like it is baffling to me that Seinfeld is not on this list.
It wasn't a crossover, but that also blows my mind. So that's actually what I was going to get into next, is before we reveal our final commitment scores, which we will be legally bound to at the end of this podcast. Here are the leftovers. These are the ones that had no crossover on the other list. And also in order of most to least successful. So on IMDb's list, number 1 was Modern Family, then Friends.
Number 1?
I don't know how they calculate it, all right? But yeah, there's number 1 on IMDb. And then Friends, then The Big Bang Theory. Skip a couple.
Okay, you could have told me all of that before I even... It's like...
Why would I tell you that? That doesn't have to do with these shows. These are the ones... They had no crossover. I picked 2 special favorites. I let you pick, but it's not your episode today, bucko.
Fair enough.
So we go down a couple more from that. Next is How I Met Your Mother. I meant to delete Frasier off here because Frasier wasn't a crossover. That's just one I chose. And then the 10th was Arrested Development. And then you go to the Rolling Stone list. The first top 2 were on ours. 3 that wasn't a crossover was Seinfeld, which not surprised, but I am surprised it's not on both lists. I Love Lucy.
Oh, yeah. That's, again, what the fuck are we doing leaving I Love Lucy off of our list?
Right? Then we skip a couple places.
I just assumed that they didn't put it on there because it's like, well, everybody knows I Love Lucy is the greatest television show ever. That might be it. Anyway.
Ginger and a cumin? What are you talking about? There was a period that was okay, and it was the last 50 years, and it's not okay anymore, man. Okay, and so we skip a couple after I Love Lucy, and then numbers 7 through 10 are the Mary Tyler Moore Show, the Honeymooners, Parks and Recreation, and then 10 is my other special, the Larry Sanders Show. So those are...
I guess it just feels really... I mean, it's just really weighted towards the new stuff, huh?
Well, with the IMDb
is this
list,
what getting old is? Is this is what getting old?
No. This is what happens when a rock and roll magazine that no longer has any cultural cachet tells you what its favorites are, and when an internet user consensus website has any sort of influence over the value of what a show is. So we are getting old, but also this is just what it is to rely on other stupid people's opinions. Okay, so we know the best. We've gone through the rest, and now let's go in reverse order our commitment scores here. So down at the bottom is MASH. And this is mostly because of me. You were much more favorable. My apprehension just didn't make it work. And so it came in at a 6.2 total score. And again, these aren't out of 10. This is just a sum number. Above that is Cheers. I got a 6.5. We'd be slightly more willing to watch Cheers than MASH. We got a bigger jump when it comes to Frasier. That got us a 7.3. Then we get another fairly big jump to The Simpsons. That came in 8.1. That surprises me because that's competing with 31 plus N years that we would be doing it. And then we get a couple close together.
Go ahead.
We go 2 full points up to the Larry Sanders Show, and that is just the math. That's the short length plus my eagerness to check it out. All in the Family, I think, is like the purest one because that hits like the mean of these other series lengths, and we were both totally into it. Got 8s and 9s, but just weighing ahead, the magic spot, Dick Van Dyke Show comes in with 12.3. And so if we ever want to do something after this one, we are obligating ourselves to watching 158 episodes of a 60-year-old sitcom. And I think that would be great. I have no reservations.
Much like with Moneyball, the math may be screwy, but you can't argue with the results because I don't feel a deep dread in the pit of my stomach at the prospect of watching the Dick Van Dyke Show. So I guess it worked.
Yeah, no, I have like the slightest disappointment that All in the Family didn't come out on top. But again, I'm not so invested. Like it's
second in place, and we'll be done in 6 years. So that we could still have time.
Yes, that's because we are going to do these until we die. At least we have that to look forward to. And, who knows? It's also possible that sometime during our lifetimes, another show will come out that'll hit some sort of sweet spot and blow these out of the water. I think, just the length and the charisma in, like you said, I was already in love with Dick Van Dyke. You had Mary Tyler Moore. It's hard to beat. And, something too, like I saw that half episode in the hotel, and it was all about a comedian. Well, Dick Van Dyke, of course, and they've got a friend who I think was, a middle age, maybe like a little younger, but not as attractive as Mary Tyler Moore woman, who was falling in love with this comedian who was very clearly just trying to sweet talk her so he could attach himself to her and like have her write his material for him and support him. And that they 60 years ago were talking about like the weird manipulative deadbeat. I'm like, I guess that's a real archetype, isn't it? That they were is cute. I always think of stuff from like the 60s as just being so safe and cute. But, and not saying that would be a particularly edgy thing, but that they're like, hey, you gotta lose the dirt bag. I was kind of surprised by. So, and just I was gonna say just for fun, like what are these other leftovers? What do we want to do? But I don't know. We've done the Big Bang Theory. We're doing the Big Bang Theory, such as our boulder we push up the hill. God, I would not want to do Arrested Development just because it's a good show. But I mean, what do you say about it? Friends?
No. Yeah, I was kind of. It's like I was surprised because again, I guess I was thinking about historical impact, but yeah, Friends does not hold up. How I Met Your Mother, it's fun to watch in the background, does not hold up.
That's one I like actively avoided. People were watching that show, and I was like, don't bring me your problems. All right, I've got things I enjoy doing with my time. Yeah, so that's it, I guess. We've got a Dick Van Dyke to look forward to. And unlike Kirstie Alley, he is still alive. He's like, I think he just turned 100. Maybe 99.
That could be the real test of the game is, first off, can he survive until we finish the Big Bang Theory? And then basically, how many episodes of the Dick Van Dyke Show can we get through before Dick Van Dyke himself gives up the ghost?
Maybe that. So assume that he's still alive when we finish the Big Bang Theory, which I don't think is likely, but
but
someone
possible.
Well, someone makes it to 100 and you're like, well, you've already beat the odds. Keep going, buddy. So let's see. But then after that, we'll see if we can finish his show before he dies. And then we will get away, because we'll be so popular and influential by that point that we'll get an interview with him. And we'll have just like the last specks of consciousness as we're like, hey, we thought this one was pretty good, but not as good as this episode of the Big Bang Theory. How do you feel about that? And then just the light will leave his eyes. So, this was fun. And I guess what we have to look forward to is killing Dick Van Dyke.